No worries. All right, so let's get started. Very excited to be back, and thank you again for bringing back round three of the talk. Right, round one we talked about work-life integration or work-life balance, if that's a myth. Right, we covered that. Round two, some of you guys were not here, but we talked about what is the one thing that's killing our lives, and it's the iPhone, right? Because we're always working. Yeah. And today we're going to talk about. Linda's turning her phone off. Busted. Okay. Today we're going to talk about what the world's most influential people do to gain their influence. So, like Oprah. So, what all three of them do on a consistent basis is one thing: to boost their influential, to be able to influence other people. Anybody take a wild guess?
What they do or
what they do to become more influential.
Lead by example.
Lead by example. Anybody else? What is the one thing they all have in common that they practice consistently? They're rich. They weren't always rich.
really good communicators.
Very good communicators. Oprah wasn't always rich, right? I know. So I'll tease you guys a little bit, and I'll talk more about it later. Cool? All right. So on our last session, you guys know who this guy is? Kind of, sort of? Yeah, Dwight Schrute. If you guys know who he is, he's the most negative guy in the office of the show, right? So if somebody who's super negative, how much influence will they have with their colleagues? You can bring down the whole team, right? And if this guy was a manager, how effective would he be able to motivate people to get work done? Not very. I mean, he might motivate people by threatening them, like I'm going to set your face on fire. But the moment that he leaves, everybody goes back to status quo. If you look at your past career, how many ever had that manager? Ever worked for that manager in life? I know I have, for sure. So this is super important, right? So the question is, how do we stay calm in the center of the storm? How do we be that lighthouse? How do we be that beacon? Whether you're in a leadership position, whether you're a manager, whether you're a colleague, you're part of the team, or even then, if you have a family, you're in your own family, how do you be that lighthouse? How do you be that stronghold? When everything's going crazy around you, how do you be calm in that center of the storm?
It's like counting from 1 to 10.
You'll be counting from 1 to 10.
So that you can cool down.
Yeah, funny you mentioned that. You'll be counting 1 to 10 in a moment here. Okay, hold that thought. Okay, count to 10, right? So those are strategies to be able to count center of the storm. So next time we know you're in a meeting and everybody's going crazy and you're like 1, 2, 3. So we know what you're doing, right? So the thing is, so my challenge for you is, how do you be in that resilient state? Because the moment that you're in the center of the storm, you're calm and cool and collected and you're grounded, you're in that resilient state. How fast can you get into that state? You can get in there just like that. Because, let me ask you guys, have you guys ever been like really, really angry? And then somebody calls you and you pick up the phone, you don't know who that is? Hi, this is Alan. So you go from angry state to all matter like, hi, I'm like really peppy and I'm really happy, and you know what I'm talking about. So the fact that we can change our state anytime we want, it starts with this decision here. So what I'm saying is that once you recognize this, once you understand the framework, right, you can get into this resilient state. Follow me so far? Yes? All right, so myth number 1 about being into a resilient state is it only comes naturally for leaders. Oh, he's a leader or she's a leader. They're naturally at this. They're natural leaders. They don't have to learn anything. A lot of our clients, my corporate clients, they come to me like, hey, that's something, it's a talent. I can never learn that. BS, right? So myth number 2. Sometimes I hear, hey, I'm already resilient, and I don't need to learn anything. This is when their glass is already, you're laughing, right? This is when their glasses are already full, and whatever water you pour in just overflows, right? So that's myth number 2. Chances are, the reason why I'm getting at is resilience is actually a muscle. It's an emotional muscle, even though we don't see it like our bicep, but it's actually a muscle that we can build on. Something for you guys to think about. Because let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you guys this. Here's the thing. Why should you limit your number of your daily decisions? Have you guys ever like had brain fog before? Like your brain's just starting to hurt and you're just wondering? End of the day. Why? Why?
Because you just put too much busyness to, that's why they say reduce the number of decision making early on in the day, like what you want to wear for work and what you want to eat and so on and so forth. So yeah.
So when will you make those decisions? You're saying like one night before?
No, I mean streamline it, meaning you just streamline what you want to wear to work and what you want to eat every day, and so your decision making every day reduces, so you get a chance to make the bigger decisions during the day. Yeah.
So what for the audience is basically you streamline your entire decision process, right? What you eat, what you wear, right? So you don't have to worry about that stuff. Absolutely, right on par. So where did you learn that? Where did you learn that?
I read something recently, one of my friends' post or something like that. So.
I love this session right here because you guys are like, you guys are like chiming in. For me, like when I was a kid, like before I go to school or before I go to bed at night, my mom always makes sure my backpack is packed. The right subjects books are in there. All my clothes are all lined up. Pants, shirts, socks, everything. Because when I get out of bed, boom, you're ready to go. Now, I didn't understand why, but it was a discipline that I learned to this day. Even last night, I'm putting on my clothes. I'm, boom, already there. I don't have to think about it, right? Well, what's that?
No, how can you make those to an example?
Good.
An example would be if you, I'm just sharing an example I read, right? Say Steve Jobs, he always wears turtleneck.
Yep.
So you just reduce
Just
the
make
number.
one pattern only so that you don't have to apply too much.
Nope. So dovetail on that. Anybody ever read Steve Jobs' biography? If you get a chance, read it. It's absolutely phenomenal. When I first, I'm reading Audible, right? The first half of the book, I hated him. Absolutely hated him. But then, what I love about the book is that there's that arc that he talks about, like his life entirely changed. Right? So, highly recommend reading. Well, so that's it. So when he went to Japan, he talked to one of the CEO, I think was NEC or Sony, one of the two. I think it was Sony. Like Steve asked him, like, why do you wear the same suit every day? Oh, that's no brainer because I don't have to think about it. Just put on clothes. And if you go to his closet, we'll talk about reason why a little bit, okay? If you look at his closet, he's got like suits all labeled, right? Like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm like, that's interesting. Well, I love wearing that mock turtleneck, Steve Jobs. So he got like, so the CEO for Sony sent him a whole bunch of mock turtlenecks. Okay. Turns out that on average, we make 35,000 decisions a day. 35,000. The moment you wake up, remember last time I was here, like you look at your phone, your Facebook, your email, like I need to respond to this guy. Moms, right? Your kids like asking, Mom, what should I wear today, right? 35,000 decisions. On average, if you're a mom, you're probably looking at, 100. Right? And we check 17 times on our social media. Facebook, Twitter. Guilty? Haha, right? That never happens. No. Instagram, Facebook, right? And we check our phone 30 times at the minimum, on average, a day. Remember last time I talked about this one device that's killing our lives? It's the what? I'm not saying it's bad. Hey, I'm addicted too. I admit that. Because without it, I won't be here today because I need the GPS. Right? So it's a necessary tool, but don't let it handcuff you. Right? So you mentioned at the end of the day, this is probably how you feel like. My brain's out of order. Anybody ever experienced that? Yeah, you're tired, for sure. So why? Well, because just like working out, like, when you're running or you're lifting weights, when you put too many reps, you have this what? It's called, you're pushing and you're about to fall, right? It's called muscle failure. Your brain, your willpower also has muscle failure. Think about that, 35,000 decisions a day. Right? So, 35,000 decisions. So this guy was the president of the United States, and whatever your political, affiliation is, but let me ask you guys this. If you look at all the past presidents before and after picture, you'll be surprised. Well, look at this. This is 2008. This is 2014. This is even before he left the office. Look how much of a drastic change. Look at his gray hair. That's 6 years. Because he's got to make the tough calls. All presidents do. When the economy is about to crash and they're labeling like the worst, it could be actually worse than the Great Depression, he's got to be able to make that call and turn the entire economy around. And if he doesn't, if he makes a wrong move, guess what? Everybody blames him. If he makes a right move, he congratulates everybody else. Nobody ever gives him a clap or a pat on the back, right? That's how much stress he is. So what does he do? Every morning he wakes up, he's already got his shirt, his tie, his pants, his jacket all figured out. So he doesn't have to think about what tie to wear, what color shirt to wear. Right? Especially if you guys are like super super moms or busy executives, you want to start implementing this stuff in your life because when you're at work and you got to make these tough calls. Anybody have to make tough calls? I know Linda does. All the time. Right? You want to have that mental sharpness. Right? And how do you do that? You want to kind of clear away all the minutia around you. Right? Simple stuff like this. So, let me kind of describe and see if this is your life. Anybody ever like not being able to sleep at night? Look around the room. Okay, about 50% people nodding their head. Okay, and then what happens? It carries on to the next day, doesn't it? Right. So you wake up and the snooze alarm button hits, the alarm goes off, and you tap the snooze alarm. You're already behind the 8 ball, aren't you? So what is happening to this Coke can right now? Pressure is building, right? And then you jump on 101, and then what happens? Road rage! Somebody cuts you off, you're like, ah! Traffic everywhere. The pressure's building.
I want to throw the Coke can at them.
Want to throw the Coke can at them, right? And then what happens? You get to work, you got like hundreds of emails you got to catch up, right? Then you call into a meeting, there's fire drills after fire drills. Anybody can relate to this? Just me? A couple of people? Now, let me ask you this. Sir, would you want to open up this Coke can?
No.
Why? It's going to explode. Have you ever met somebody who's like under tremendous pressure that when you say to them, if you look at them the wrong way or say the wrong thing, they blow up on you? Okay, there's a company here in Silicon Valley. They're notorious of having so the first year people come into their work, it's normal to have a nervous breakdown. In fact, it's actually a badge of honor. It's a rite of passage. If you don't have a nervous breakdown, you're like, well, actually, you shouldn't belong here. That's how bad. Right? And this is what happened, all this pressure building. So how do we alleviate this pressure, the stress out of our lives? Yoga? Good. Exercise? Good. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
What do you do if you need to elevate it like immediately? Like yoga, you have to wait until like
Once a week. So you're like, Wednesday's here, 3:30, I get to do yoga.
It has to be like something like if you have pressure, just do deep breathing, and that can be any time of the day. That's
Pow.
a small session throughout the day.
So I like to invite you to take a deep breath. So place your hands on your stomach. So breathe fully into your belly. So nice deep breath in. Nice deep breath out. Good. A fuller deep breath in. A fuller deep breath out. And the deepest breath you've taken all day. Exhale, make the sound ha. Now, should I open this? Should I open this can now? So look at Linda.
You've been tapping it.
I've been tapping it.
All right.
All right? It's a metaphor. And the metaphor is when we take conscious breathing, and I do this all the time on TV, and you just see the anchors are like, right? And they love it when I pour it out. The metaphor is take time to breathe. You can do that, absolutely do that in meetings, right? Things are going crazy around you. Take a step back, deep breath, let it go, and then come back. Cool? Any questions so far? All right. So here is a recent article from Forbes that came out in February. Turns out that Kronos did a research. They talked to all the HR, the CHROs, human resource officers, right? The VP of HR, HR director, manager, everybody. They said 95% of human resource leaders says that employee burnout is sabotaging their workforce. Now, last time we talked about stress, right? We all have stress. I have stress too. But if you don't deal with your stress, eventually that builds up and bigger and bigger and bigger. That last straw on the camel breaks the camel's back. That becomes burnout. And that's a big issue. That's from 95% of all the surveys they've done. Inside joke?
No, I checked it.
Okay. Yeah. Of HR? You guys are all HR?
No.
Okay. Right? It's a huge problem within their corporate. Actually, this is even more scary. This is nothing new. A study came back that was written by Harvard back in the 80s. Talked about this exact same thing. Except now, back then it was like 1 out of every 3 people are like stressed out. Now the statistics more like 70%, 80% of people are stressed out. Crazy, huh? So the question is, how do you tap into the resilient state anytime you want? So we learned about conscious breathing. You can do that anytime you want. Because when you breathe, what happens? You change your state. Right? If you know how to manage your breath, right? It's like before, the analogy is like you're on a surfboard. If you don't know how to manage your breath, you're going to continue to get pounded by the wave after wave after wave, and you're barely struggling trying to keep your head above water. Once you realize you can just like modulate your breath, now you're riding on top of the wave. Does that make sense? Something as simple as that. So how do you tap into a resilient state anytime? Stanford did a study of all these different activities, how to get into resilient states. Right? So they done like playing video games, binge eating, all right, watching TV, and I know it's some of you guys' favorite here, going shopping. Okay, I don't know about you. Any husbands here? Okay, does that look like you when you go shopping with your wife? Love these stock photographies. Right? All right, so let me ask you this. Out of all these activities, which one do you think that's the most useful to alleviate stress and burnout? Shopping? Binge eating? Netflix? Maybe? How about playing video games? No? Depends who you are. So what they did was they scanned their brain waves and monitors all these different activities. Binge eating is definitely on the bottom of the list. Playing video games, watching TV is definitely also on the bottom of the list, because what happens is when you play video games or when you watch TV, it causes a very low frequency of stress. Anybody watch Game of Thrones, House of Cards? At the end of the episode, you're like, what? You're stressed out. Yeah. So you're actually not out of that stress zone. You're there. Right? The Walking Dead, same thing. All right? So what are the number 1 and 2 things that will help us alleviate stress? Any guess? Socializing? What's that? Vacation. Okay.
Or maybe thinking of vacation.
Thinking about vacation. Anybody need a vacation after a vacation? That's my life. You're like, I want to go see everything, right? All right. Turns out that there are the top 2 most effective things to alleviate stress are, drum roll, exercising is number 2. Meditation, number 1. Anybody ever meditated before? 1, 2, 3, 4. Anybody hate meditating? 1, 2. Okay. Thank you for being honest. Hate it, right? No, I get you. Totally get you. So, do you know what all these people have in common? They meditate. Katy Perry, okay, Moby, they all meditate. And a lot of them are coming out of the closet. We joke about that all the time. Okay, Congressman Tim Ryan, Ohio representative, right, Republican as he can be, meditates. Okay. Arianna Huffington meditates. Remember, we were going back to what are the three people, like Tony Robbins, or Oprah, and Arianna Huffington. What do they do on a routinely basis to be even more influential? They all meditate. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because when you meditate, you're creating a space in front of you. I know it's hard. In the beginning, it's hard. I get it. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. Did you learn how to ride a bicycle the first time you hopped on? No, chances are you probably fell, right? And bruised and cuts a couple of times. You're like, I hate this thing. But once you get the hang of it, man, you're cruising, aren't you? So same thing as meditation. In the beginning, it's super hard. I get it. Your thoughts is flying everywhere. My email, what am I going to eat, what am I going to wear. This meditating sucks. Like, how much more time do I have to go? Okay. All that monkey thoughts going on around the brain. Right? So what happens when you meditate, you're creating the space in front of you, and you're just observing. And I'll show you what I did later, okay? About how meditation can be applicable to your life, especially in the busy world that we live in. And if you still pushing meditation aside, this little guy named Steve Jobs, he did Zen meditation for a number of years, and that's why he's brilliant. Whenever he's stressed out, he meditates, and he goes out for a walk around Palo Alto. So walking is also another form of meditation. So a lot of people think meditation, you sit in a mountain, you have this hole in front of you, and you just isolate yourself and you sit there. Absolutely not true. There are many forms of meditation. Okay? And I'll teach you what Steve Jobs did on a routine basis in a little bit about meditation. Okay? All right. So it turns out that when you meditate, so let's talk about pre-meditation, right? Before meditation. What psychologists did is they hooked up their brain waves called EGG, and then also measure their EKG, which is our heart. Right? When we're totally stressed out, the chart goes like this, all over the map. But what I'm about to show you now, in a couple of minutes here, there's one specific meditation. When you do this, your brain waves and your heart waves lines up symmetrically. Really interesting stuff. All right? So this is the graph, right? And it's more about the mindful leadership. It's not about the meditation, it's about being mindful. And let me share a quick story. So Linda could probably relate to this. When I worked at Actuate, I was working with a sales engineer, right? There was a request for proposal due. At the time, so I was an account manager. At the time, the typical transaction size is about 35,000 up to 50,000, if that. Typical transaction. We had an RFP, request for proposal, due for 500,000. This is with NASA. So the requirement came out, and we had 2 weeks to put together all the information, the company information, the technical requirements, the R&D, all that stuff, right, to submit it to the government. Right? And I got my stuff completed like that. And when I talked to my sales engineer, he was like, yeah, I got this. No worries. A week goes by. I check back with him. So how's the RFP coming along? Oh, yeah, I totally got this. We're almost done. Last day goes by. Where are we at? I'm getting really nervous. Oh, yeah, we got it totally done. The minute we're supposed to send to FedEx, the last day, the cutoff time, right? So if you know a government, you can have the best mousetrap, but if you send your proposal late by 1 minute, they'll reject you. They don't care what it is, because you missed the deadline. You're done. He goes, we have a problem. I'm not done. I'm like, dude, I gave you 2 weeks. Yeah, I know. In that moment, I was so frustrated. In that moment, I want to go like, right? Anybody ever feel that way? Right? But if I did that, what's going to happen? Is that productive or counterproductive? Counterproductive. Do you think he's going to like me, or do you think he's going to hate me? Do you think I might even be like Dwight Schrute, like in the beginning of the video, the negative guy, right? Doesn't help, right? So what I did was I took a moment to breathe and refocus back on the outcome. Because what happened is when problem arise, chances are most people, I'm not sure, this probably doesn't do it here, most people what they do is they blame on other people, don't they? Right? But in this instant, it was totally his fault. I could have easily berated him. I know he feels bad. There's no point in berating him. So instead, I focus on the outcome. The outcome is, how do I get this RFP out? Okay. So by the time we're done, we had to print about 5, literally, reams of paper, okay, to be FedExed out. And on top of that, there's be CDs in there. Right? Put everything FedEx letter, call up FedEx, and oh, by the way, you missed your cutoff time. I can't drive it to you, and nope, you're done. You missed your FedEx cutoff time. Call UPS, call U.S. Postal Service, obviously other DHL. Nope, you missed your cutoff. It's 8 o'clock at night. $500,000 on the line. $500,000. Right? So at this point, I'm like, to the sales engineer, I'm like, you know what? You can go home. There's nothing you can do at the time. I'll handle the rest. So immediately, I call up my manager, Tina Scott, right? Hey, I have this brilliant idea. I'm willing to fly from San Francisco to Chattanooga overnight, and I'll hand deliver it because I have everything with me. I've already checked the airfare. It's only $1,000. Rental car, another 30, right? Meals, another 25. Chump change, right? Versus 500,000. Fantastic idea, thinking outside the box, because I meditated. Tina checks with Lisa. Right, Lisa comes back and says, nope, I'm not going to pay for it. So I'm like, this is my pet project, right? And I just felt so defeated. So at this point, I'm like, there's nothing I can do. And it's about 12 o'clock midnight. And this is before we had internet, iPhone and all that stuff, right? So I took a moment to meditate, 5 minutes. And I get on my car and drive back home. And I'm just kind of letting everything go. I'm like, it is what it is. I hate losing, but it is what it is. So the moment I'd done that, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. There's a Kinko's in Chattanooga. Chances are they 24 hours? Maybe. Can they receive files and print it out? Yeah, they're printing shop. Can they cut CDs? Maybe. Can they courier, deliver the package to NASA? Don't know. As soon as I get back home, I fire on my computer. Remember back in the days, like you'd have like 56 baud rate? Remember that? So fired on my modem, looked up Chattanooga, call up Kinko, ask them all these questions. Yeah, we can do all that. 3 in the morning. Boom, turn around, went back to Actuate, South San Francisco, right? Got on my computer, fired everything off, sent everything over, sat there and waited. And then 5 o'clock, the clerk gives me a call. Like, sir, everything's printed, all the packages there, would deliver 8 o'clock in the morning. You're ready to go. Cool. Hang up the phone, went back to bed. About 2 o'clock, I woke up, I got a call. Sir, your package has been delivered. $130 later. Because I did not what? Focus on the problem. I focus on the outcome. And have I not meditated, I would have does that make sense? I know sometimes like in projects you feel like you want to do something, but when you do that, you literally become in that negative state, and you kill the golden goose. Especially people in a management position, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So we're going to talk more about this a little bit. Huh?
Yeah.
Do we what?
Did you get the deal?
So, long story short, what happened was I got hired by HP, so I didn't get a chance to see what happened after that. I wish I would have known. I don't think we got the deal. All right. So that was up for the federal account managers to handle after that. Yeah. But something to think about, right? So shall we give meditation a try? All right. I know some of you guys might hate it, but you know what? Richard Brandson does it too. So if he does it, maybe it's okay. All right. Any questions so far? So I'd like you to have you find yourself a comfortable seat. So not putting your back against the chair. So a little bit, straight. And at any time you feel like you want to take a nap or just start nodding your head, just go ahead and put your head down. Okay? Cool? Yeah. Got it. All right. So what I'd like to invite you to do is take a nice deep breath in. Nice deep breath out. Good. A fuller deep breath in. A fuller deep breath out. Yes. And a very big breath into your stomach. And when you're ready, slowly close your eyes. Okay, you're in a safe place. Nothing's going to hurt you. Just take a moment to connect with your breath. Feeling the rise and fall of your chest. And maybe even feeling your heartbeat. Good. Yes, that's right. Now feeling yourself being even more grounded. Like your feet maybe have roots growing into the ground. Feeling more grounded, more centered. And allow your thoughts just to be here. Not thinking about the big juicy steak you'll be having for dinner, or you're checking your email. Just take a moment to connect with your breath. Good. And at this moment, I'd like to invite you to place both hands on top of your heart. And feeling the nice rise and fall of your chest. And take a moment to connect with yourself and your heart. Good. And I'd like to invite you to think about 3 things you might be grateful for today. Could be something as simple as clean water that we have. Or perhaps the love and connection that we have with our colleagues, family, or family members, our kids. Whoever that might be for you, take a moment to think about 3 things that you're grateful for today. Now, maybe think about another moment that you're grateful for in your life. Maybe it was a week ago, 3 weeks ago, 6 months ago, a couple of years ago. So take a moment to feel that gratefulness. Maybe somebody did something for you unexpectedly. Maybe somebody appreciated you for what you've done. And when you're ready, slowly drop your hands, place it by side of your lap, and continue to cultivate this appreciation, this warm-hearted feeling within yourself. And notice if you're holding on to any stress, any discomfort, any tension within your body. And when I say release, 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 go ahead and release all that tension out of your shoulders, your jaw, your hips, whatever that might be for you. Ready? Nice deep breath in. Exhale and release. That's right. Good. Deep breath. And release. One more round. Nice deep breath in. Would you let it go? Can you set it free? Could you let it go? So in a moment, when you come back into this room, by wiggling your fingers and your toes, and then when you're ready, slowly open up your eyes. Okay, shake everything out. How did that feel for you guys? Do you feel more grounded, more centered? How long did I take? Take a wild guess. 5 minutes. Okay. So this is what Tony and Oprah and Arianna Huffington does every day in the morning. 5 minutes. If you don't have 5 minutes for your life, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Because I know everybody's got 5 minutes. Even those people, you wonder, like, if you think we're busy, look at their lives. It is so important to connect with your mind, our body, and our hearts. Just that 5 minutes can change your states, right? So you can tap into your resilient state anytime you want. when I worked at Actuate, when I worked at HP, when I worked at VMware, every morning before I get into the office, I take 5 minutes to connect with my breath, connect with my heart. And I think about something that I'm appreciative. Because what happened is that, so tell me if this is true. When you are appreciative and you have this container in front of you, would you be able to still have appreciation and fear in that same container? Yes or no? When you're appreciative, what happens? That fear goes away. How about anger? When you are appreciative, does anger also go away? It's not containable, right? So that moment, you're maybe like your project's not going well, or maybe your team member's not pulling their own weight, and you're like, you go back into appreciation, all that fear, the uncertainty, the doubt, it goes away. And the moment that happens, you get to focus on what? The outcome. Because that's what's really important, right? And you can apply this not just at work, you can also apply to your family. Because there are times, like my wife, she's like notorious being right on time, like to the second. And that's great and all, but what happens when you have to have a flight to catch? And you get there right on time, you got to go for parking, you got to go through security checks, and you make it right on time before the jetway, the door closes. Kind of stresses me out. Right? So I go back in. Appreciation. I'm still alive, everything's going to work out, and everything's going to work out fine. Okay? So you can apply that to your personal life as well. All right, if I can get some feedback from you guys. 5 minutes. I know some of you guys hated meditation. Did I kind of sort of change your mind? No, not really. Try more. It's like riding a bicycle. The first time's going to hurt, okay? Second time, maybe third time, but when you catch on, I guarantee you, you're going to feel this bliss no money can ever buy. All right, I know we have about 10 minutes to go. So we'll wrap it up with this. 3 questions. What are the top 3 things you learned today that help you to be even more influential in your lives? Take a moment to write that down or put it on your phone. No, this is for you. It's a good reminder. Because knowledge is not enough. Knowledge with action creates real power. So that's what these questions are designed for you to do, for you to take action. Because I can teach you all these stuff, but if you go back and don't do anything, it's not going to help you. Right? And my job is to help you guys. Cool? Second question. What can these 3 things apply to you in your own life right now, whether at work or at home? And let me know if I'm going too fast. Number 3, what would your life be like if you practice this on a continuous basis and consistently? Anybody like to share?
I just thought for myself, try the meditation, more exercise, and planning ahead.
Does it have to take long? Does it have to take long? No. You got 5 minutes? You can meditate. Okay. Exercise takes a little bit longer, right? But you have that endorphin firing your brain, you feel better. Anybody like dread working out? Ever had? Okay. So let me ask you guys this. After you worked out, did you ever regret it? That great, right? Think about that. After you work out, you always feel great. Getting there is half the battle, isn't it? All right? Cool. Q&A. Anybody have any questions? Yes?
So would you recommend doing the meditation like in the morning before you start your work?
That's what I did every morning. Okay. And if I can share with you, so when I worked at HP, both HP and actually too, I crushed it. So I was the number one account manager for HP software division because I went in there every morning, and everybody's like, "You're kind of weird," but number of shows, right? So absolutely, I highly recommend it. 5 minutes, and pick a song that soothes you, that relaxes you, that you like. You just pick any song. Okay?
Yeah, I think it'll help start my day being less hectic, start more grounded.
Anybody ever feel like you? Yeah.
I just feel like I'm frantic
Yeah.
every morning, and when I get here, I'm frantic, and the
Yeah.
car, I'm frantic, and I just feel like it will help me be a little more like less crazy. Yeah, let's Coca-Cola.
Okay. Love to have you support me. This is my book. And so this wraps up the third series of my book lecture. I do have another lecture. I don't know if you guys are interested or not. Well, first and foremost, I want to appreciate Linda and Shima for sitting on this all together, and also appreciate you guys for being here as well. Such a privilege to be here and to talk to you guys about this, because this is my passion. This is what I love. I get so geeked out about this, right? Now, I do have a high-performance coaching program that, if you look at the Arianna Huffington, the Tony Robbins, and the Oprahs, they all do these 5 things. Like even Elon Musk, he has to have clarity to open up PayPal because he identified there was something wrong with the entire market. That's why he started PayPal. And I'm like, oh my God, we have such an issue with the ecosystem. He came out with Tesla, right? He had clarity. So energy, we talked about in our previous session, right? Courage, Oprah. She was a weather report anchor. Never thought like she mounted anything. She's huge. Never mounted that she would put on a talk show. I mean, her aspiration was Phil Donahue, right? But it's like, I can never be like him. But look at where she's at today. You got to have courage. Influence. If you're in a position, whether you're in a position of leadership, management, colleagues, if you have great friends, if you're a parent, you have kids, you got to know how to influence people, right? Because how do you influence other people? You got to know what influences them first. So we'll go over that as well. And lastly, productivity. How do you boost your productivity by just at least 10 to 20%, if not more? I'm going to show you specific strategy on how. If this interests you, feel free to talk to Shima and Linda, and we'll see about putting together another set of lecture series. Cool? All right. Any questions? Good session? Yes? What's that?
I have a copy of the book if they want to borrow it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. What did you guys love about this session today? If you guys, assuming that you guys, so like, I hate this session. Right? Make me meditate. Right?
I think most of us, I can say in generic terms, focus more towards exercise, workouts, but totally forget about meditation and connecting yourself. So I think that's what I learned.
Okay, good. And by all means, workout, exercising. Those are all great, right? But it's that final edge. How do you? Because you can work out, but then once you get in a staff meeting and you're like super stressed out and everybody starts pointing like this, you lose that mindfulness leadership, don't you? Right. So this will help you get that extra edge. Thank you for sharing. Yes.
The amount of time, I didn't know that it's such a 5 minutes we could give. I've heard about meditation and so on, but the amount of time is interesting to me.
That's why my book is called The Instant Energy Method, because I've been where you guys are sitting before. I worked in Silicon Valley for 14 years. I'm like, right? And every day was hustling, every day, not a doubt. And so I need to figure out what's the fastest way to get me in the right mindset. What's the fastest way to boost my energy up? What's the fastest way for me to alleviate stress so I'll never get burned out? Yes.
Feel very defeated, so that feeds into I can't do it, and it feeds into self-doubt and questioning your ability.
And that gets in that vicious cycle, right?
Nothing gets done, basically.
Okay.
So
Okay. Very cool. Anybody else? Great session?
take 5 minutes out for myself every morning.
Okay.
Better me. Yeah.
All right.
We're going to see
So part of this is accountability, right? So if you guys are willing to do this, I challenge you to pull out your phone. You guys see this coming? Okay, set a time. Put on an alarm.
Before you get here.
I'm gonna start hosting meditation in the morning. Training room. Give me the playlist.
They've been meditating for like 3 hours, and all of a sudden, like nobody's doing their work. I'm like, that guy Alan, he told us to meditate. So take 5 minutes. I haven't personally checked it out. I'm sure there are, but feel free.
I think it's harder for me to just like sit down and like focus without someone instructing me how to do so.
Yeah. So that's one way, right? Alternatively, so kind of recap of what we went through. So think about the 3 things you're grateful for today. So ask yourself that.
Or you even touched on walking, which is a form of meditation.
Yes. Yes. I mean, there are days where like, I'm about to like, but you know what I'm talking about. And I hop on my mountain bike and I go for a ride because that clears my mind. It's my form of meditation. I try to play video games, and afterwards I feel even more stressed out. I've tested all this stuff on myself, okay?
Strategy around having music in the background while you're meditating, should that go away while you become more and more
Good question.
good at it? Or?
Very good question. How I formulated this was to help you guys, a very easy way for you guys to get in. If I were to teach you what my Buddhist teacher taught you guys would kill me at the end of the session. Okay? It is so hard, right? Because one of the things you guys say, count, that lady was here, said count to 10. I'm literally have you guys sit here and count to 10. And if you, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10, if you count to 7, and you think about your email, you start all over. That is so hard. I mastered it. And to this day, when I'm meditating, I've been meditating for about 14, 15 years. When my mind wanders, I still go back to that. But that is so much harder. You can absolutely do that. But first off, like listen to music to get yourself in easier. When you master that, do it at 1 to 10 counting. Right? If you master that, if your mind still clears and you can count to 10, and your mind's not wandering off, right? Be observant of your breath. And when you master that, then you let everything go. You just sit. I'm giving you like the Cliff Notes version. It sounds so easy to do, but it is. You know what I'm talking about. It is not. It is not. But they say that if you can concentrate for 2 minutes, you can accomplish anything in life. Think about that. Agree? Mind just wanders. Anybody here like been a long time meditator? Have you meditated? No? Okay. It's hard. So in the beginning, start with that. So in the beginning, start with 5 minutes. When you get better, 10 minutes. When you get better, 15 minutes. Right? So now I said like half an hour easy. Right. Cool? And that bliss that I talked about, no money can buy that. You feel one, you feel connected. You feel centered. Oh, more importantly, let's wrap this real quick. More importantly, 3 years ago, I focused on a specific word. And I'll show you guys this. Check out my laptop. So you guys see all these words up here? These are a reminder for me who I want to be. And one of the words I worked really hard is authenticity. Because that builds presence. Right? I had presence before, but like I want to be, when I speak, I want to be as authentic as possible. Like when you meet me outside, I'm still the same guy. You know how it's like some people like in front of in an audience are like, but then after they get out, they're somebody else, kind of a jerk, right? I'm not that guy. But these are things I practice on a consistent basis through meditation. So that's also part of this high performance framework. Right? Because when you identify these, the presence, the energy, the enthusiasm, you're upping your game to a whole new level. whole new level. Does that make sense? Yeah? All right, so let's go ahead and wrap it up. Okay?
Thank you.
Good training?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to ask if you meditated later next week.